Good morning. There's that sigh that I start all the videos with, which is a happy sigh, I'll say. So, the advent calendar, because I keep everything in here, becomes unwieldy at some point. So, I have to make sure I get the right date. So, we did so beautifully with the felt and the pattern. And I think I'm going to go sew today. I think I'm going to take some time today, maybe get a last little bit of shopping done. I have two things on my list that I've held off purchasing, so I should probably go get those done. But it is only day, is it 19th? Is it 20th? It is the 20th. Okay, it's a very small little container. Okay, day 20. Erica did say there was still something else, So if you go ahead and make your ornament and come in, I have extra little buttons, and if you, maybe I should better make sure. So today is, yes, it's needles before I start giving away my buttons, because you might all. So I have buttons here in store for anybody who bring in your globe ornament, and I'll give you buttons for the eyes, or you can do French knots for the eyes. And today, needles. Now let's have a little chat about needles, because we all have little packets of needles from, I don't know, the 60s, 70s, 80s, and you have needles from last year as well. So if you got our calendar last year, then you have that nice package of Bowen needles. People, we don't treat them as valuable, but they are expensive. So you've got 2 chenille needles in today's package. It's worth taking care of your needles. So I've worn out a couple needles in the last 6 months. The most common thing that wears out is the eye of the needle. So the eye of the needle can get a crack in the side of it, especially if you're tugging on it quite a bit. And the crack in that little eye of the needle is it's debilitating, to be honest. You can't sew with it once it's cracked. The other thing that goes wrong with needles is they can end up with a curve that you don't want, or the end gets dull. So there you wear out needles, but they are expensive, so it's worth taking time to take care of your needles. And it's important to have the right size. You want to make sure that your needle, I'm going to do a little lesson. You want to make sure that your needle is sharp when you're doing things, and you want to make sure that the eye is the right size for your strand. So that's why you've got 22s, and you've got chenille needles. So I'm going to grab this. This is 12 weight. I am going to grab 8 weight here. And please know that I know that getting the thread off of these is not going to be the easiest. You just have to get that first strand, the short strand that's sticking out, just needs to get loosened. And what I did when I was winding these is I just simply poked a thread through. There. Okay. So I've got a strand coming off. I'm just going to I'm going to grab a pair of scissors. Oh, I have scissors in here. Day 1, 9, 8, 2, 4, 5. Pretty sure I may have absconded with my scissors already. Day 1. See, over the month you end up with everything. So we're going to get a little lesson here, and I am going to, I'm just getting the thread out properly. Right there. So we sell acrylic bobbins from, I'm going to forget her name right now. I've talked about them recently. So we sell the acrylic bobbins, which is a plastic one of these, and often they have a magnet on it. Okay, so I work with a piece of floss that goes from, I usually do this. See how I've got it pinched between my fingers and I go to my elbow. That's the length of floss. And sometimes people work with longer, but I tend to walk away. I'm really just dumping things here. I tend to walk away and I come back to a rat's nest. I put my needle card down when I was... So you take our needle. Okay, so this is my hot tip. And you're going to use your needle threader, which was, I'm not going to dig that out, I'm just going to poke this one through. The needle threader helps a lot. Okay, so here I got it through. So what I do is I have my longer piece and I have my short piece right here. I take my short piece, with the pearl cotton, this works really, really well. And I take my needle, let's see if you can see this. How can I hold it up? Camera. And I poke the needle through the pearl. So it's through like that. And then I pull it through like that and pull it tight. That is how I do my embroidery. Not a big long string, not doubled, nice and short like that. And it should stay in there just fine as you're doing the rest of your stitching. So then you're going down into your wool and it'll latch its way, or you know, up from the bottom, and it'll stay in place. And I put a tiny little knot in here, or I might lock a knot, which is, for me, that's my own term. I shouldn't use my own terms. I lock a knot. So that's how I start. I have no knot in my thread right now. I take my long strand and I like threes, so I go around my needle 3 times and I pull my needle tight through there. And I'll have a nice little knot, lock a knot. That's how I do it. But the main thing I want you to pay attention to is that little tiny strand. By poking through the pearl's usually strong enough to hold it. Like I'm pulling pretty hard there, it's staying in place. And that's not going to slip out of your needle, and it's not going to rub the thread the opposite direction, which can make it fray. So that's my hot tip. And then I'm going to probably do some machine stitching applique, and so I may do a little video later today or in the next couple days about using your machine for applique with thicker threads. Okay, that's it. That's our day. Get going on that project so we can give you some buttons. And so yours is going to look like this. And you can put some French knots down the front for little coal buttons, and then for the eyes, if you want to pop coal buttons, French knots as buttons in the front. But then if you want bigger eyes, we've got some little tiny buttons here. So if you bring yours in, we'll make sure you go home with 2 shiny buttons. Okay. All right, everyone, have a great day.